Working at the pizza place is hard enough. But now I have to deal with strange things in this children's hospital. 5 years ago, I was just born. Slowly walk. The voices of my father and mother, who were covering my eyes, guided me to see something. I walked for a while, and then I heard my younger sister singing, "Happy Birthday." When the song ended, I could open my eyes. I slowly pulled off the blindfold before riding a motorcycle with a red bow tied to the handlebars. The bike itself was jet black. I turned back to look at my father, mother, and my sister, who was hugging them, watching me enjoy the motorcycle. It was my last gift before going to university in the big city. I named it Batman, after the color of the bike, and I took excellent care of it. On the day my parents left, it was like a representation of them, and it was something important that I wanted to protect. The sound of gunshots, I don't know how many hit my body. I ran to protect my most important, last possession, away from those demons. Something pierced my body. Their cruel words and laughter mocked me, as if I were just a toy to them. Present time. I woke up with a start as the curtains fluttered at the window, and the morning sun shone on my green single bed. I looked around. There seemed to be another curtain separating each bed. Time passed gradually. The sound of a door opening, followed by the sound of a cart and footsteps slowly approaching the partition next to my bed. The curtain slowly opened, revealing an angel in a white uniform. "The patient is awake." "Yes." "How long have I been asleep?" "About 3 days." "I'll bring you some rice porridge." "You're on a drip." "Why am I here?" "A man in a security uniform brought you. You'll have to ask the doctor for more details." The pretty nurse nodded slightly in acknowledgement and then walked away, closing the door, leaving me alone in the white patient room with several empty beds. 3 months. Time slowly passed in the lonely room. Amidst the silence, the phone next to me suddenly beeped, notifying me of a message. I picked it up and saw several messages from Latte, starting from 2 days ago at 3 a.m. up until just now. Most of the messages expressed concern. "How are you doing, Ivy? Everyone at the shop is worried about you. I just got a message from the hospital that you woke up. It looks bad. A broken rib and that's it. I hope you like the small gift I got you. We're all worried. I'll visit you today. If you read this, please reply." After reading the messages, my stomach growled with hunger. Just then, a doctor and 2 nurses came and wheeled me out of the ward down a long corridor for over 10 minutes before reaching my destination, the VIP patient room. We were notified to move Mr. Ivy Martinez to the VIP room. "The hospital has prepared food. You can request anything you need." I nodded slightly before they moved me onto the queen-sized bed. It was very comfortable. "It'll take almost a month for your bones to heal properly," the doctor said. I felt a pang of regret, thinking I would have to stay here for over a month without working. "But if you don't mind, we can perform surgery using the hospital's new technology. But you'll have to wait 2 to 3 days." I smiled slightly. It was good that I didn't have to take that much time off work to recover. After the doctor explained, he left with one of the nurses, leaving me with a room manual and the other nurse. A gloomy atmosphere descended upon the room. Soon, the nurse began to prepare my food. I felt a little embarrassed that, at my age, I still had to be fed. "Eat slowly," she said, offering me a spoonful of rice. "May I ask something, just to break the silence?" "Sure, what is it?" "I saw your injuries. They said it was a motorcycle accident. But it seems much worse. Was it really a motorcycle accident?" I listened and thought that the nurse wouldn't believe the story I was about to tell. So I replied, "I broke the law a little." After I said that, the nurse's face paled, as if she understood what I meant. She then asked me to tell her the story. But before I did, she introduced herself. "Before you tell me, let me introduce myself. I'm Uriah Kimson, the nurse who will be taking care of you. And I'm Ivy Martinez, 23 years old." I didn't know why I mentioned my age, but I did. Uriah smiled slightly before saying, "We're the same age," she said before I began to tell my story. "So, my story goes like this." I told her everything before a knock on the door interrupted. "Excuse me, Ivy. The familiar voice and way of speaking could only belong to Latte. Before I could answer Latte, Urea spoke before leaving. "Don't forget the manual." That short message left me wondering. Urea and Latte passed each other as Latte walked towards me. "How are you doing, Ivy? You look pretty rough." "A little better. Can I ask you something?" "Sure. What is it? Where am I? Is Batman safe?" "Batman? My motorcycle. Why are you worried about the bike before yourself? Do you know how worried everyone at the shop is?" Latte seemed slightly angry, her eyebrows furrowed. "I'm sorry, but Batman was the last gift my parents gave me. It's like they're still with me." Latte's expression softened. She didn't look as angry as before. She seemed to think for a moment before answering. "It's safe. Someone brought it back to the shop." I was so relieved that I thanked Latte again. "They sent gifts for everyone. And they sent me to bring yours. Lots of snacks, sweets, soda, and pizza." "Did everyone at the shop send me pizza?" "Yes, but it's a special kind. They rarely make it." I was so happy. Before Latte left, she reminded me about the manual, leaving me alone in the room with it. I opened the manual. It looked pretty normal. It explained all the buttons and devices. But just before I closed it, a clean white sheet of paper fell out from the last page. At first, I ignored it, but the small words, "Rules," caught my eye. I picked up the paper and read it. It really was as I thought. The content of the paper stated, "Rules for using the VIP patient room. We ask that you be awake after 9 a.m. From then on, you must follow the rules for using the VIP patient room until the specified time. Rule 1. From 9 p.m. to 10 p.m. Please turn off all the lights in the room except for your bedside lamp." To avoid Yuki, a nurse who used to work at our hospital. Yuki dresses like a regular nurse, but her cap is black. Yuki doesn't like patients who don't rest. Rule 2. After 10 p.m. you will encounter various things that will last until morning. Please follow the rules strictly for your safety. Each rule may occur multiple times. Rule 3. If you hear rattling sounds, no matter the direction, immediately turn off all the lights. Sometimes, Yuki sneaks in to see if you're really asleep. Rule 4. If the door opens and you see a wheelchair waiting for you, say, "There's no one named Gel here anymore." The wheelchair and the door will close automatically. Rule 5. If the door opens and it's dark outside and you can't see anything, press the nurse call button as quickly as possible. Otherwise, the darkness will consume the room. We do not recommend letting it consume you, as the light won't be able to help you, and we will lose the ability to bring you back. Rule 6. If you hear people running back and forth in front of your room, we advise you to ignore it and not look at the door. Otherwise, they might run into your room instead, and this may interfere with your ability to hear the sounds that are necessary to protect yourself from Yuki. Rule 7. If any objects in your room move or if anything unusual happens, it means you've encountered the ghosts. They are harmless and can only cause minor disturbances. They dislike light. We recommend using the special flashlight provided to shine on any moving objects. They will stop moving and eventually return to their original position. Rule 8. If the smell in the room changes, follow these instructions. 8.1. If you smell the sweet scent of flowers, you will be safe from everything until morning. Miss Flower is protecting you. 8.2. If the smell turns foul, be extra cautious, as you might encounter Fawn, a former Thai nurse and the only one in our hospital who studied necromancy. We do not recommend looking at her show. It will close your eyes for a very long time. Rule 9. From midnight to 1 a.m. a nurse will be in your room with you. You can talk to her normally, but please observe her hands and name tag. If either are red, immediately press the nurse call button next to your bed. The other nurse will come and stay with you, ensuring your safety. Rule 10. After 1 a.m. repeat the above rules until 3 a.m. These rules are based on actual experiences of previous patients. We advise you to believe them. It will be for your own good. Ghosts, the weakest spirits, yet still stronger than even a bodybuilder. They resemble zombies or possessed spirits, but not quite. They are bloodthirsty, but they fear the light of the special flashlight. I just thought to myself and sighed. Even in a hospital, I still have to follow rules. I was glad that Latte booked the special room for me. If it were a regular room, I might have to face many more things. Just thinking about it made me tired. I looked at the clock on my phone. It was 3 p.m. I decided I should rest so I'd have the energy to stay awake when following the rules. It wouldn't be good if I fell asleep while I should be following them. I closed my eyes, relaxing on the soft bed, until finally, I fell asleep. At 7 p.m., the sound of the door opening woke me from my short nap. Uriah walked in with the food cart I had requested. "How are you doing, Ivy? Feeling any better?" "A little." I smiled weakly and looked at her. She addressed me informally, like a friend. She seemed to notice what I was thinking, and her lips curled slightly. "What are you looking at? Can't I be like this?" "No, it's nothing. I didn't mean anything." I lengthened the last word playfully. "Come on, let's eat." Uriah fed me until I finished and then packed her things. The whole time passed in silence before she was about to leave the room. I felt the need to ease my anxieties. "Aren't you going to say anything? I haven't talked to anyone all day. It makes me feel down." "What do you want to hear?" Uriah turned back. She knew what we were about to face. "Can I get some encouragement from an angel?" I teased her as if we had been close for a long time. "Good luck. I'll come quickly when you press the button," Uriah said with her usual expression, turning back and pushing the cart out the door. If my eyes didn't deceive me, I saw the corners of her lips lift in a smile, her ears and cheeks tinged with pink. She must be shy, I thought to myself. It eased my worries a lot before I started to think about what would happen tonight. All right, it's time to face the rules. 8:55 p.m. Time passed slowly, and before I knew it, it was almost time. I slowly stretched one arm towards the headboard to turn off all the lights except the dim bedside lamp. Darkness enveloped the periphery of my vision, leaving only the dim light on the bed as the only safe space in the room. 9 p.m. The time of the rules had begun. On my first night in this hospital, the room was almost silent, except for the sound of the old air conditioner releasing cool air. At this time, the lights in the hallway outside gradually dimmed, one by one. I thought they would only turn off the lights in the room. Couldn't they leave the lights outside on for a little reassurance? I just thought that. I felt the room get a little colder, and from the corner of my eye, I caught sight of something in the darkness. The sound of high heels hitting the floor outside approached my door. I slowly reached out and turned off my bedside lamp for safety. The light outside my room brightened, until finally, the door slowly opened. I held my breath to see who was coming in. It was a nurse with a cart stained with something, and a soft lamp in her hand. She slowly stepped into the room. I noticed her cap. It was black. As the rules described, it meant she was Yuki. She slowly surveyed the room before stopping her cart at the end of my bed. The sound of her high heels came closer and closer to me, making my heart beat faster and faster, almost as if it would jump out of my chest. The footsteps stopped again, and this time, it was beside me, at my bedside. I could hear her breathing clearly. I pretended to be asleep and stayed as still as possible, as if I had already fallen asleep. Inside, I prayed for her to leave quickly. I felt something like a thread slowly approaching my face. Something brushed against my face, accompanied by her breathing, which was so heavy, as if she was about to say something. Her face came closer and closer to me. It was too close, causing my body to tense up, and beads of sweat formed all over my skin. "Are you asleep? Get well soon." That cold voice made my hand clench into fists. That face slowly lifted away, and she pushed her cart out. The sound of the cart wheels grew fainter until it was a safe distance away. I reached out and turned the light back on. As the rules stated, "I hope you won't come back anytime soon," I thought, as I reached for my phone to check the time. 9:30 p.m. "Really? Only 30 minutes have passed," I murmured, frustrated with how slowly time was moving. After turning on the bedside lamp again, I felt much safer than when the lights were off. Unlike when the whole room was dark, I picked up the paper and reviewed it carefully again. As time went by slowly, the rules didn't seem that complicated. I could only lie there, waiting for time to pass. But the darkness in the room began to gnaw at my confidence. 10 p.m. Suddenly, there was the sound of someone walking outside, running up and down the stairs for no reason. The footsteps, initially walking slowly, gradually accelerated until they were running at full speed back and forth in front of my room. I tried not to look at it, not to look at the door, or to pay attention to those sounds, so that I could listen for the sounds that were the warning signs regarding Yuki. The running continued for over 10 minutes, irritating me greatly. I wanted to get out of bed and open the door to yell at them, if it weren't for the fear of having them run into my room. And then, I missed noticing the rules about the ghosts moving things around in my room. The wheelchair had moved to the end of my bed without me noticing. I quickly shone my flashlight on it. There was a high-pitched frequency sound for a split second after I shone the flashlight. And the smell of something burning. I started to worry that it would still be there, so I kept the flashlight on it for a while. Suddenly, it moved back to its original position by itself, as if it were alive. Can it move by itself? I furrowed my brows when I saw the wheelchair return to its place on its own. I tried to check the time and messages on my phone frequently so I wouldn't feel alone. It was 10:20 p.m. Time in this room moved abnormally slowly. I couldn't do much but turn my head left and right, observing the objects in the room in case they moved. And not long after, my peace was broken when I heard the door open, and the wheelchair slowly rolled its rusty wheels inward. "There's no one named Gel here anymore," I said, not because of fear of the wheelchair itself, but because of what I was truly afraid of, the wrist and arm of someone in a white uniform, bathed in fresh, red blood, gripping the armrest of the wheelchair. The sound of the rusty wheels slowly retreated before passing my room, and a hand reached out to close my door. I turned my attention back to the room, to the tables and chairs that had started moving. They were moving more than before. At first, it was just the wheelchair, but now, there were tables, chairs, the refrigerator, plates, and glasses, all moving around playfully, as if they were trying to lure me to play with them. "I'll play with you," I said, starting to enjoy it, as if I were playing a whack-a-mole game from my childhood. Shining my flashlight on them one by one, the high-pitched frequency and the burning smell filled the room. I was having so much fun that I forgot to check the time. Then, a sound brought me back to reality, the sound of a hand slamming against the window, startling me out of my reverie, along with a rattling sound coming from the left window. My survival instincts told me to close my eyes, stay still, turn off the bedside lamp, and drop to the floor beside the bed. My legs were shaking slightly as I heard the sound of the window lock being undone, as if something was unlocking it from inside. The clear window pane slowly slid open. Wind blew through the open window into the room. I kept my eyes closed, using my peripheral vision to see what was coming into my room through the window. What I saw were 4 white hands gripping the window frame, a black cap, and a nurse's uniform. Yuki had returned to check again. My heart dropped to my stomach. I collapsed onto the floor, not caring how I landed. Staying still was paramount to survival. My eyes were squeezed shut before I heard that eerie voice again. "You're really asleep. I'll come back later," Nurse Yuki said in her same chilling voice before leaving. How did she know? And there's no balcony for anyone to stand on outside that window. I thought. I was getting more and more afraid. I hoped I would survive until my surgery. 11:15 p.m. The running outside returned, but this time, it didn't sound like just one person. It sounded like multiple pairs of shoes running back and forth. A mix of sneakers, high heels, and sandals. This time, the sound bothered me even more. They just kept running without stopping. Then, the door opened, but outside, there was nothing but darkness and more than 10 pairs of legs running around. I froze for a moment before reacting and pressing the nurse call button, as the rules stated, but it seemed too late. The darkness had already consumed the doorway, along with the countless legs that ran into my room. The ghosts giggled, enjoying the darkness that empowered them. The laughter didn't last long before I heard the sound of sneakers running, along with a light that erased the darkness outside the door. Uriah ran in and closed the door, with a smile and tears in her eyes. "Wait," I called out to her, but she couldn't stop to talk to me. I figured I should just follow her rules. The sounds in the room vanished when Uriah arrived, giving me a moment to grab my phone and check the time. 11:55 p.m. Just 5 more minutes, and I could talk to her comfortably. I counted down the seconds as time slowly ticked by. The sound of the door opening made me turn my head towards it instantly. It was a nurse in a white uniform with a white cap and a name tag, the color of which I couldn't see in the darkness that had already swallowed the doorway. She's not Uriah, I thought. Maybe she's the one who replaces Uriah. I felt relieved to have someone in the room with me for an hour, as the rules stated. But before she got closer, the light from my bedside lamp reflected off her name tag, revealing its color clearly. It was red, a deep crimson red staining her name tag. I quickly grabbed the nurse call button, about to press it before the nurse turned into something else. Sensing my change in demeanor, the nurse reacted instantly, lunging forward and grabbing my wrist. Her lips stretched into a gruesome grin that almost reached her ears. Her grip was strong enough to make me lose all strength in my wrist instantly. But I had already pressed the button. A bright red light filled the room from the ceiling, accompanied by a deafening, headache-inducing scream from the nurse. Her grip loosened, and she collapsed onto the floor, her body turning into smoke that drifted out of the room as Uriah rushed in. "Ivy, are you okay?" she asked, her voice filled with concern. No, I sobbed, tears streaming down my face, trapped in fear. The image I saw was myself lying in a pool of blood that covered the entire floor of the red-tinted room, with countless hands trying to pull me down into the blood, while the one who cried for help in my head laughed maniacally. All of that combined was like hell on earth. "Ivy, what's wrong?" Uriah's face paled, her hands cold and trembling. She was clearly terrified. She grabbed my arm, shaking it gently, but I only saw the reflection of the light on the table, as if it were clashing with the red image stuck in my head. I flinched, startled from that nightmare. The image of someone covering my eyes wouldn't go away. I cried and sweat poured down my face. Stop. Uriah seemed truly confused by the situation. Suddenly, without knowing what she was thinking, she used both arms to hug me. The sudden warmth I received made me realize it was a dream. I looked at her, but the darkness hid her expression and thoughts, only the traces of tears visible. "It's okay, Ivy. I'll come whenever you press the button," Uriah said in the most normal voice possible, trying to hide her tears. Then, her watch alarm went off, reminding her that it was time to go. She helped me lie down properly and hurried out. I don't know what happened between us. We didn't have much conversation. I just watched her back as she walked away, feeling confused. I wanted to say something, but I couldn't. She was gone. 1 a.m. After 1 a.m. until 3 a.m., there were only the ghosts, moving objects and the wheelchair. 3 a.m. Everything returned to normal, as if nothing had happened, except for the darkness that still lingered at the doorway. Finally, I closed my eyes, automatically succumbing to exhaustion from the events of the night. Wow, what a story. Ivy almost didn't make it. It's a good thing that pretty nurse came to the rescue. But wait, does this nurse have her own set of rules too? And what are her rules like? I'll tell you about it later. Let's cheer for Ivy. I want to thank the writer, Doc Pukgan C. Chad, for writing this exciting story. And before we go, if you like this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. What will the next story be about? Stay tuned. For now, goodbye.